So I thought I'd start the stream off with something entirely pointless. Piotr B Store sent me a load of RS-70s. I think he's sending some more so I can mess about with them in videos and see if I can get any of them running, you know, at lower radiation levels. But one of the things he'd done, which is really cool, is a USB powered adapter, so you can run an RS-70 off of a USB, which is actually really cool because it's only 6 volts, and I think USBs are something like 5 point something volts, aren't they? Turns out RS-70s actually run off of USBs, which is really cool. So annoyingly, I damaged the connector opening it, which is why I'm holding it like this in my hand. But basically, this is just a USB that goes to a positive and negative banana clip, and then you can run an RS-70 off of a USB, which is cool. So yeah, what the plan will be of this one is doing a video on it, opening it up, showing how it actually uses a Geiger Muller tube right at the bottom about there on an RS-70. And then once we get at the Geiger Muller tube, figuring out if there's any ways you can make this more sensitive. Star Wars battery pack. I've never seen what battery packs look like in Star Wars, but yeah, it's Polish RS-70 radiation detector. Castia says 5 volt and 2 amps. Yeah, I'm all right, Henry. So for those of yeah, you could run it off a power bank, Arnold. Let's see if the really annoying alarm sounds. Yeah, I'll turn that off straight away because that will destroy my ears. But yeah, so it wasn't me that did this Surviving the Apocalypse. It's B Store on eBay who sells a lot of these. Because loads of them are missing the battery caps, they came up with a really easy way of powering them, which is just a USB thing. So I'll be doing that for a video. So anyway, the interesting thing we found out, and the person who told me all about this, and I completely believe them, wants to remain anonymous, so that's fine. But the CBRN police came round because some sad fucker on YouTube, who a few of you might know, but I'm not even going to give them the satisfaction of having their name read out here. They, even though they knew what I had was perfectly legal, they dobbed me into the CBRN police to try and get me in trouble. So there you go. That's why they turned up. So I guess the joke's on them now. Everybody knows about this. But, you know, as I said, I'm not vindictive enough to basically do some sort of online lynch mob against them, but I think that it's probably going to end quite badly for them if they, you know, waste literally CBRN police time. Thank you very much, Ninos or Ninos. I appreciate it. But yeah, so that was coronavirus gas mask, Joshua. That would just be a particle respirator, but yeah, everybody's saying. Like I said, the person who wants to remain anonymous was like an admin somewhere else, and it came to their attention because they were dumb enough to go and boast about doing it. Yep, by the look of it, surviving the apocalypse. So yeah. Oh, and here's the funny bit, right? So apparently it's because they had my actual address from when they sold me something on eBay years ago, because it's somebody apparently sells stuff on eBay. Not always in very good condition, and then, you know, but here's the funny thing, right? So they now think, oh, they can scare me because they'll go, oh, well, docs, you give out your address. But here's the thing, if they give out my address, all I'll say is anybody that does want to send me shit to review, look, I don't even need to worry about vetting people to get my address now. So if you want to send stuff, here's my address. But yeah, yeah, but yeah, you know, it's just one of those funny things, isn't it? It did turn out to be just a really sad bastard doing it, you know. Because, why don't you agree with my Nazi ideology? I'm going to report you to the police. But yeah, it's one of those. So that's how it all came about. You know. So all's well that ends well, I'd say. But yeah, yeah, it literally was somebody wasting police time knowing it was perfectly legal what I owned because they didn't like me from doing YouTube videos. The thing is, I imagine the police already know about this, Mr. Slavinator, because I'm assuming if you ring up the police or email the police about stuff like this, they're going to keep a record of who's done it. But anyway, shall we talk about something more positive now? I've got a cup of coffee. Well, the cop that came here, that's what I said, the cop was quite polite that came to my house. So he obviously probably realised he was having his time wasted. Because, yeah, the cop, because remember, I basically said to the police, if you remember the video I did on, it's like, do you want to look at some of my stuff? No, that's all right. You know, he was like, oh, Chernobyl series was good, wasn't it? But yeah, it's the coffee today, Joshua, not a cup of tea. But You'd hope so, AK-47, but just to me it seems really sad. Because like the thing I said about it before, which I'm sure some of you agree with me here, is let's say somebody didn't know anything about thorium lamp mantles, radium watches and stuff like that. Let's say a person sees a YouTube video on a thorium lamp mantle, and reports you for doing a video on a thorium lamp mantle to the police because they don't know any better. I can kind of get that, because that's somebody sort of saying, all this might be dangerous and they don't know. This is quite strong, the coffee I've done. It was a little bit of milk in the bottom, boiled water and quite a lot of instant coffee. I know, yeah, all about, if they all started going off, I'd be a bit worried. I'd be trying to find out what the source of it was. But anyway, yeah, going back to the thing was, I can't remember where I was, but like I was saying, is if somebody did report you to the police because they literally didn't know if any of the stuff was legal and they were actually worried that you could have been doing terrorist stuff, fair enough, It's when somebody knows it's, legal and they're just doing it to be a dickhead. Yeah. The thing is, though, Grobnob, that one you posted looks really interesting. Is that actually meant to be a full body bag, or was that meant to be like a casualty bag, as in somebody's injured, so it's like an NBC coated blanket you put on them? What country are you in, Beagle? But it all depends, coming down to an individual policeman as well, because I've met some cops that are dicks, and most cops I've met have been all right, thankfully. But I think it all does come down to the cops that you see as well. Because here's the thing: like, a load of people are like, "Oh, you don't have to tell the cops anything." It's like, I don't have anything to hide. It's going to be more suspicious if I'm like, "No, you can't see anything. No, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm a lawyer." I'm just like, oh, have a look at anything if you want to. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, Briggs, they're not actually that hard. They're not that easy to understand, because a lot of it is written in terabicquerels or whatever it's called, or like teracuries or whatever the doses are. Probably not teracuries, because 1 curie equals 1 gram of radium. But yeah, I'll get around to reviewing lots of stuff. Happy just cause. I've not done a video yet today because I was a little bit hungover this morning. I'm not going to lie. Because when all that news came to me last night about what had been going on, I thought, oh, fuck, this is a depressing lot of shit. I'm going to have a strong drink. But I'm all right. But yeah. So today I'm going to probably film the video on doing an initial setup of the MD3. So what that is the meter dose rate 3, like, the one behind me there. Because I've got another one that's not been set up yet. What I'm just going to do is, do a video with one showing how you do an initial setup for anyone that buys them. Also about putting, decontescent stuff in it, like silica gel, so you get a proper reading from it. Drinking vodka, I'm afraid, in real life, Joshua, does not protect you from radiation. I wish it did, but it doesn't. Yeah, that's David Han, Spy Poland, the boy who made the nuclear reactor. It wasn't really a nuclear reactor. It was a basically a neutron breeder. It's kind of impressive that he made it, but also quite worrying. But it's a shame David Han kind of just drank himself to death after that, because apparently he had a lot of health problems. But he's one of those people that, if given the right job, I think he'd have probably done some really good science stuff. But it was kind of wasted because he ended up getting on the wrong side of the law for having nerdy interests. But no, I don't have any winter valve covers M1A2. The closest thing I have to winter valve covers are those like weird socks that go over the filter. Oh, that's cool, Gash Goblin. What are you doing to support it? But it sounds good. Yeah, exactly, Gromlump. Exactly. I know with all this shit, right? I'm not somebody who pretend that, if I keep drinking really heavily for a long time, I won't become dependent on it. I won't, I know all about what that shit does to you. Weapon Collector, he won't mind telling you. I don't know if he's in the chat today, but Weapon Collector's recovered alcoholic, so he's quite a good person to talk to about that sort of stuff. I'm all right, Mysterious Stranger. Really, Spy, or is that a joke? I thought it was just because he was really into it from his scout stuff. But anyway, did I miss any proper things? Oh, Spider Class says he's got an MM1 coming in a few days. Cool. They're nice old retro masks. There's one behind me on that. If I move the camera slightly sideways. See that? MM1 with a tank helmet on. But yeah, did I miss any proper comments? Because, but yeah, Alex, that's my opinion on it. Is the thing is, like, I do understand some people are worried that if you speak to the police, you know, and you don't, and you might give away incriminating evidence without meaning to, you know, something like that. But I think most police, if they're just doing their job, and you know, you don't really have much to hide because you've not really done anything. You know, you just say, "Go have a look. Here you go." Well, modern wars probably wouldn't have trenches due to like tanks and, you know, planes and helicopters. Trenches in World War One and the American Civil War was because there was no real armor. Oh, that's amazing, Massimo. They're really cool looking. Oh, Daniel, if you missed it, it was because I found out that it was indeed some sad cunt who used to come on these streams. Reported me because he didn't like me, and he's also been causing drama with other people. I don't want to say too much because some of the people that gave me the info don't want anything going back to them on it, but you know, it was a heads up sort of warning for me. That's where it was coming from. So I thought, yeah, that was really interesting that, you know, so this person's been a piss take to me, they've been a piss take to other people, and you know, they're so sad that they properly knew this stuff I had wasn't illegal and they still reported me anyway, therefore wasting police time. Oh dear. Anyway, shall we Alfie West says, please may you link good Geiger counters for a good price on UK eBay. Right. Let me have a think about Geiger counters. The Beregs might be on there at a decent price. But what I was going to say to you is if you like those are still on. They're not actually Geiger counters. They're dose meters, like survey meters. But I'll link you to those because I've been talking about MD3s quite a lot. So British military Geiger counter again. This isn't a Geiger counter, but for £35, that is a really good price for them. And the video I'm filming today is on how to actually set one of those up when you receive it so it works properly, because a lot of people don't understand about like moisture in the chamber and everything else that messes them up because it's conductive. It wouldn't surprise me, Alex, saying that if this same person probably comes on with loads of different accounts to try and start arguments. But yeah, so the other one I'm going to recommend to you, if you don't want something modern, is the Bereg. So that's the Bereg. Let me, once that starts chirping away, there we go. Let me link you to a Bereg on eBay. Because they're not too expensive. £33, buy it now, free postage. I'm kind of tempted to get more myself. This seller's sold 32. It's a seller I got them from, and they've still got more than 10 available. But yeah, Beregs are good if you're not actually caring about what the dose you're receiving is. Just you want to know, is it background radiation in the green? Is it scary, like, you know, slightly troublesome radiation in yellow, or is it going red where you think, oh dear, what's going on? No, I don't have a Shum one, Mr. Slavinator. Isn't that the first generation of the Shums? That's sort of funny grob nod, but yeah, glad you're all right. But yeah, so there you go. The Beregs I'd recommend as well. But yeah, for the £30 sort of cheap price mark, you're not going to get a big plethora of good Geiger counters, but you can get the little plug-in, you know, sensors for phones. You can get the DIY circuit board kind of Geiger counters, as in one of these. Right, a dosimeter, Briggs, just literally means it measures your dose, basically a dose meter. So a classic dosimeter is something like this. How they work is they charge a capacitor inside. They have a little ionization chamber, and as radiation goes in, it drains the battery, moves a little bit, you look through and see with your eye. So that's a classic, basically, dosimeter. But Geiger counters can also be dosimeters. If you've got a Geiger counter, I've not got batteries in my therapy at the moment, but on the therapy, dose rate is the Geiger counter mode, and then dose is the basically dosimeter mode. So basically, if you think the easiest way of explaining it, think of like a speedometer in your car and a mileage, thing. So when you're driving in your car, the speedometer shows you the speed you're currently going. That's like the Geiger counter. That's like an ion chamber showing you your current dose rate. So essentially, dose rate is your speedometer. How many miles an hour you're doing or whatever. Then if you get a decimeter, that's like your mileage clock, basically. Does that make sense? I think that's the easiest way of explaining it to people if they've ever driven a car. Basically, speedometers and your mileage counter, if you want to work out the difference between dose rate and received dose. Oh, that's excellent, Connor. I'm glad that's worked. But yeah, I'm doing a video today to put on tomorrow all about setting those up. Yeah, grab mod. But if you're interested in old 60s and 70s British Geiger counters and stuff like that, that's an interesting thing to get into. But you might already be into that if you're watching this channel. But if he's still in the chat, check out what's his name's channel. Surviving the Apocalypse, as in NI Bunker or whatever his channel's called, because he's got loads of excellent videos on old Geiger counters and stuff like that. And he's also got his own little ROC post bunker, which is really cool. Oh, happy just cause, weirdly, I did a video on that exact subject called Things Like Movies and Games Get Wrong About Radiation. But Chernobyl series is pretty accurate at radiation. There's a couple of things that are wrong in it. They're quite minor things, really. I'm trying to think if there's any other series I've seen that portray radiation quite well, or like nuclear stuff. There's that film Freds is pretty accurate about what would happen in a nuclear war. Also, When the Wind Blows, what's the other two? The War Game, and there's one other one. What's the other one? The Day After. That's the American one, The Day After. Yeah. Communist dude, you're correct. Some people on Discord were saying that. Happy birthday, S6 gas mask, I guess. Yeah, the MD3s, I think, Connor, are really good for what they are and the price you can get them at the moment. Because originally, ages ago, I didn't even know the MD3 existed. Then I bought my first one, and like I bid on it, and some other people bid on it. It went for like 30 to 50 quid. Then another one went on eBay quite shortly afterwards. And I put a low bid on that because I thought this is interesting. And then the person who ended up winning the bid ended up just reselling it. I don't know if they ever managed to sell it, but for like 120 quid, because they obviously weren't interested in keeping it. They just wanted to resell it. But it's quite nice now that obviously one of the RAF bases or whatever has just surplus their entire lot of them, so they're 35 quid each on eBay. It's patrons only or people who can provide good informative information to other people, Manky Boy, or it's people who've just donated like $1. In theory, Mr. Slavinator, apart from breathing resistance, the main idea is if you've got a big filter in a satchel, the weight of the filter isn't directly on the mask. You've got a bigger filter that lasts longer, and it's a bit more maneuverable. Having a small filter on the mask just means that everything's all there. Obviously, the weak point having a filter with a hose is the hose. If the hose snaps, you're in trouble. What film was that, Fighting Welsh? Have I missed something? If that's from When the Wind Blows, I've not seen it in long enough to remember it. But no, basically what it is, just Happy Just Cause, is there's a Discord server for people who've donated, like a lot of people do with their patron sort of servers. And it's just if you've donated literally anything, you can get on it. Or some people are invited in for like, community relations type things because, they're quite nice people. But in general, just so it doesn't get spammed to complete shit, and we don't get too many malicious people joining, it's hidden behind a paywall. There was actually an S8 as well, JJ. But the S8 was a prototype. Let's see if I can get you a picture of it up. S8 gas mask. Actually, tell you what, let me link to the picture that shows all the masks in a row. If I can get it up. Here we go. Is there a full resolution version of it, or was that the full resolution version of it? Anyway, here's the thing on the gas mask wiki, which can be quite a good source of information. I mean, obviously, some articles are better written than others. But there's, if you look that up, you can see the S10s on the far left, then you've got the S8, then the S6, then one of the there's like 2 light anti-gas respirators next to each other. I'm not a big enough expert on light anti-gas respirators to tell you which, variants there are. Then there's what looks like a Mark IV or a Mark V next to those, and then a PH gas hood. So that's not every British mask ever made, but that's a good sort of lot of them. That's a weird thing to say, Nova XFI, so post your Discord ID. I do remember somebody paying me to say, can I be their dad? Always sounds a bit creepy to me, but what I can do, though, Nova, is I can actually look up when you donated, because that's a nice feature now you can do on YouTube that you never used to be able to do. So I can go on monetizations, I can go on supers, then I can control F your name, Nova XFI. I just have to keep scrolling down till it turns up on the list, because this is a long list to look through all the super chats. Let me see if I can sort it by name. It might be a bit faster. It's all right. I do believe you. Oh, no, you can't sort it by name. That's annoying. I just keep scrolling down till it says 0 of 1 found. It'd be nice if I could just download this as a spreadsheet, because it would make control effing through it much faster. But that's fine. I'll believe you. Oh, it was a joke, was it? Connor says he's annoyed as he's been having loads of posts, but my old British decimeter pens haven't arrived, even though I ordered them earlier than everything else. I'm guessing the seller's post could very well be. I've got something that finally, after like over a month of not having any transit details, had an update on the tracking site for it. So I think it is just literally that. Let me actually go and see if there's been any more tracking now. But it's one of those things that, is kind of really annoying me, because I bought it ages ago. And yep, here we go. 3rd of May, handed over to airline. So it was stuck in China doing nothing for a massive bit of it. But is Cinco de Mayo a Mexican thing? I have no idea about what that is, but happy Mexican Day to any of the Mexican viewers or Hispanic viewers, or whatever. Because as I said, on here, we try and not be a dick to anybody, regardless of religion, race, whatever. Because, as it's quite nice being nice to people, I think, rather than start blaming people for random shit when people just want to get away from politics, I think, on these and talk about milsurp. But yeah, I wonder if there's any more tracking info saying that. Let me have a look on my really nice ionization chamber, the digital one. I can't remember which tracking number it is, so that's this one. Now, last update was 27th of April, but that was arrived at the Global Shipping Centre. So that's probably where it's actually now in a, like freight plane or a freight ship. So that's cool. Jesus, oh no, they beat the French. That is not good. Yeah, funny shit. It's sunny. It's sunny SCP site. And, of course, lockdown. But because it's Tuesday, I had to go for my weekly prescription pickup from the pharmacy. And, I drove in my car wearing the mask and everything. And then you see random people just walking about in the roads. Happy Just Cause says, this is joke, good thing. Yeah, always say if you're making some weird joke that it's a joke, just because you can't tell sarcasm in chat, and I'm autistic, so again, that makes it even harder to tell. He says, next time you go to shave, don't hit the moustache yourself again. Yeah, that's why I had to shave the entire thing off for the people who didn't know. Because when I shaved, I misshaved it, and then every time I tried to straighten it out, it was getting more and more like that, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm shaving that off. Funny enough, that was the same day the CBRN cop came around, so could you imagine how bad that would look if they came, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear cop came around and then you had a hip moustache. What is this you're asking me about? Yep. It's the thing B-Store's been doing hype because they had loads that didn't have the battery caps. So let me show you it again. I need to sort out the banana clip here, but basically how it works, pretty simple. Plug it into your USB slot. Because what surprised me is these actually just have a Geiger Muller tube at the bottom there. And then basically, there you go. Because USBs are 5 volts and this, although it says 6 volt on the bottom, it seems to work from anywhere under 5 volts to 9 volts and work fine. Yeah, you can power an RS-70 on a USB. Hello, TechStorm, haven't seen you on in a while. He says, have you ever seen a filter splitter attachment for a mask? I saw one for MSO mask. Is that so you can wear more filters on one mask or what? But as you can see, the wire's a bit loose, so I need to re-tape this one into the banana clip for it. But yeah, that's what I was thinking. Although, as I've said before, what I really want to do with wall mounting is get one of the vehicle-based Geiger counters or like ion chambers and mount that on the wall, because I think how they're in like the flatbed metal kind of thing, so they slide onto a vehicle mount, that should work fine. Then I could get, because a lot of them run on 12 or 24 volts, I can just get an AC plug that, goes to a 12 volt lead and have it basically permanently powered, just recording radiation on the wall lit up. Oh, and thank you, Class 2 instructor. He says, hey, just got M65Z, but no diaphragm solutions. What is in it's missing its valve or diaphragm, and you need to get it working so it doesn't leak air. It's not the toughest thing, but what you can do is get cling film, open up the bit where the diaphragm would have been, put cling film over and clasp that in place. That wouldn't work as an exhale valve, obviously, but that would work as a voice diaphragm. Yeah, Floof, I think it was the DPS 68 I was interested in, but hopefully the latest variant of it, the best built one. But what was the other one I was on about? If it's an exhale valve that's missing, what you need to do is buy a kit of different size umbrella valves, they're normally called. And that umbrella valve is what literally every mask uses for its exhale valve. I just used my Alpha Mesh Casual. It's like a dust mask, but a well-made dust mask. Oh, it's hard to say, Jesus. I mean, I really, really like my Schmitz Reuben. Because I polished all that up. I can't show it you on a stream, annoyingly, because YouTube's policy on showing guns on a live stream. Yeah, it seems a bit pointless, TechStorm, in all honesty. I mean, I can understand that for a Papa unit wanting several filters for really good airflow, but it seems pointless to me for regular use. One filter's fine. Sparrow says, I'm considering selling my dual FM12 with plug, VPU, CBR, and FM12 filter, and genuine red and dark lenses as well looked after, which thought on price of selling. At the moment, I think £100 for that plus would actually be quite reasonable, like you're not even ripping people off. When you're on to, I've been on about 30 minutes so far, so I'll happily do another 30 minutes. Well, Nova, as said, or Novax, what you need to do is post your Discord ID and then I can add you to the server. Is Class 2 Instructor already on there? Because he's donated before. He's donated again. And Ninos, have you got a Discord ID? Just trying to remember the people that have donated. It's very close to NBC. It depends on what a nation classes NBC, but in theory, an ABEC P3 filter. The ABEC bit covers various chemical vapors. That'd be your C or, C in NBC or CBRN. And then basically the biological and radiological and nuclear protection comes from the particle filter. Although people obviously have made the point that certain radionuclides are so small that they'll go through a regular filter anyway. So there is that, you know, or if they're a gas-based thing like, what's the glow-in-the-dark radioactive gas? Well, that reacts with a phosphor anyway to glow in the dark. Tritium. So like tritium gas and iodine gas, obviously, you're going to get through absolutely fine. I hope everybody's all right, SCP site, because I mean, obviously, having a natural disaster while you've got a pandemic going on is really bad. Obviously, if loads of people end up in hospital, or makes emergency services responding even more difficult. Depends what you mean by a regular filter. I don't think there is a regular filter. If you mean on military masks, yeah, CBRN filters are like the regular ones. Like that's the CT12 with its CBRN S10 style filter. During the lickdown, during you mean lockdown. Lickdown's a bit kinky, but I can't remember if he's reopened the shop yet. He's around, but I know he was having a while off, like selling anything, because you know I like email him most days and we chat about old surplus stuff. But what as in like a hard case to protect the Bereg, you know, not that I'd know of because it's like a retro Geiger counter, but you could probably find some different sizes of box on sale on like eBay or Amazon that would fit it quite well. I wouldn't kink shame. I'm into some kinky shit, but it's all perfectly legal, you know. So I wouldn't tell people what it is, but I don't like the idea of somebody saying, "Oh, my fetish is superior to your fetish." Henry says, "Why does your Mine EO14 filter have those weird black marks that look like they can be possibly from hose?" And that's exactly what it is, Henry. I wondered about that, but what they are is basically when an EO14 has been in a bag with a hose next to it for too long, the hose has just basically imparted some colouring onto the filter. It might even be like a UV light thing, you know, if the hose was blocking more UV hitting it and everything else, the paint would have faded less under the hose. That's a peddling, Joe Bomber. $30 is very good for a Spaziani. It's one of my favourite masks. Like, I would honestly pay like £60 to £100 for a Spaziani. So $30 is a great price for it. If you didn't hear me, Yanan, I said I don't know of a case that fits the Bereg, but I'm sure you could find something on Amazon or eBay that if you type in the dimensions of the Bereg, which is just slightly bigger, that will fit it fine. I mean, this will be a bit big, but for example, this Chinese Type 75's case, that will fit the Bereg with room to spare. But that's obviously a bit bulky, isn't it? But I think if you looked at maybe little binocular pouches or camera pouches, you could maybe fit like a camera, find a camera pouch that would fit it. Piotr, the most comfortable gas mask will totally come down to what you find comfortable, like your face shape and everything else. Let's turn this back on. This is a really cool little counter. Another cool thing with this is it turns out if you put a little digital display on this, it actually gives very accurate readings. Oh, my positive, negative, and ground little LCD display came today, so I want to see if I can fit that onto my broken little US Radiac to actually have a modern digital readout for it, because it was the needle bit that broke on it. Yep, I've got the Hungarian 70M. It's like the PMG, but got way more little holes, hasn't it, on the diaphragm cover. Briggs says, right, I've decided to buy a Terra P. How much should it be? I think £150. For the money, the Terra P is one of the best Geigers you can get. Don't bother getting Terra P Plus. I've got that, but I think most people would prefer the regular Terra P. Let me check EcoTest's own website for you, because you can buy them directly from EcoTest. They've got them for €179 on here. What I'd say is have a look around. If you find it cheaper on Amazon or eBay from a proper seller, get it there. I bought mine directly from EcoTest. Came within a week from Ukraine. Which sign? There's a Soviet civil defense poster. There's a joke Russian sign that says "Death to Western Spies" that was originally a substation sign by the look of it, and that's a big gas mask sign for a firing range, I think. And there's also the toxic dump sign up there, which I guess is a novelty one you could put on your toilet door. There you go. I've got a metal fallout shelter sign, but I think that's fallen down the back of the wall, so I have to dig that up again at some point and put it somewhere on the wall. £80. Oh, you could probably get quite a good Geiger for around £80. Let's have a think. Do you want a little pocket one? Because I'm trying to think for £80 what you could get. Well, are you saying you don't want a pocket one, or do you want a big one? I don't. Sorry, just saying no and not answering questions confuse me now. So I'll tell you what, Briggs, respond. Yes, I want one that will fit in my pocket, or I just want a cool one. Sort of starter one. All right, let me see how much a GMQ 500 is, because I think for most people wanting a starter Geiger, that would be what they'd want. That will. The nice thing with the GMC 500, they're expensive on eBay at the moment. Let's see how much they are on Amazon, because when I got mine, it wasn't that bad. It's a bit, probably going to be a bit over. Right, for exactly £80, you can get the GMC 300, which isn't as good, but I would personally recommend spending £109 on the GMC 500. Let me just link you to both of them. I just need to work out with Amazon where I can cut the URL off and still have the URL work. Right, that bit. So this is the one that's £80, but if you spend a bit more, you can get this one, which is really good. Wow. There's a couple of problems with it, but I wouldn't say they're big problems, really. What's the coolest looking Geiger counter I have? Maybe Happy Just Cause, I would say. One of the old US CDV series. That one's an iron chamber, one of the big old bulky US CDVs. Because that's, I mean, my really old British contamination meter is very diesel punk. It's like a bright grey giant thing that, you know, is huge for the tiny range it does. Isn't what a car, Jesus? Hopefully everybody was all right though, SCP site, because as I said, it's any like natural disaster like that can be horrible any time of the year, but it's specifically bad, isn't it, if there's a pandemic and you want to keep people out of hospital and stuff like that. DP75 is very cool. The only issue is apparently a lot of people have broken ammeters or whatever they're called when their DP75s arrive, but my DP75 is still in perfect condition. I'm tempted to French. I mean, obviously there's a lockdown problem at the moment, but there's a quarry near me that might have some granite-based stuff, so I'm tempted to take them with a scintillator and a Geiger there at some point. But what I might do at some point is go on holiday to Seascale and see if I can find anything beachcombing there. Robin says, Army and police surplus are commonplace. Anyone ever seen a London bus conductor's PCAP sale? I want to dress like Blackie from On the Buses in my spare time. The closest thing I have to that is my traffic warden hat I specifically bought because of Fred's. But annoyingly, I can't get the SLR out to show you of this. But I still need to feature this in a video. But yeah, this is the one to go along with a bloody bandage and the SLR. It will depend on your country, Happy Just Cause, but in the UK, you can own pretty much anything gas mask related or whatever. Just try not to buy anything that's stolen military property for obvious reasons. But in terms of what our laws are on it, you know, there's no law against, but in some countries there is, you know, weirdly. You know, a traffic warden would be the person putting you against a wall and shooting you, assuming there was a nuclear war. Ninos says, HHH, now you look like Englishman. I was thinking of now you look like the Minister of Coal then from Chernobyl. Now you look like the Minister of Coal, but I wonder if there was an equivalent. Now you look like an Englishman. But only problem with this cap is it does leave little dead bits of leather on my head because of how old it is every time I put it on. I would do Briggs. As I said, at some point I'm going to do a video on that keeps getting requested, but it's really overdue on, lightweight corona protection, like a scarf or something tied around your mouth, like full-on really scary corona protection using like hazmat gear, and then once everything's gone to shit and having the traffic warden hat, a bloody bandage on the SLR. Yeah, that's probably just due to the asbestos inside it, isn't it, Rolandus? Because in a lot of countries there are laws against asbestos stuff, but they're never really enforced. No, sadly, Tech Tyler, I don't know if there are any Mexican gas masks. I mean, I'd assume Mexico, if it did build any masks, I'm assuming they probably just buy masks from other countries, because a lot of countries do that. It's that cap pipe, I think, is like a 1950s, 1960s one. Because what they were is they were old bus conductors' hats, or train conductor hats from like the 50s, and then they just put the traffic warden bands on them to keep reusing them for longer. Yeah, Demon Core is very interesting. Criticality accidents in general are interesting, but yeah, Demon Core, let's get a screwdriver with this massive chunk of plutonium. Right. Ninos, the problem is the King things are a bit like Myra. They're not an actual proper brand. They just rebrand other people's stuff. I don't know what the individual filter is, but it's probably an Israeli or another filter that's been reissued by them with their name stamped on it. The thing is, 11HHH30, my mum goes to Tesco's with a mask I gave her when she goes shopping for my grandparents. And a lot of the time, people actually say, oh, that's a really good mask. Where can I get one like that? And she says, I don't know. My son gave it me. Well, the M40 is not all that modern, JJ. I mean, the M40 was pretty much equal to the S10. But I guess, yeah, now we use the GSR. Yeah, Grobnob. It's literally a second-hand hat. The sad thing is now, traffic wardens are all tactical looking, aren't they? It's not as, like, back when Freds was made, traffic wardens had, like, great coats on and the traffic warden hats. Now they're just, like, imitation policemen. It looks like a policeman's uniform with the stab vest on and everything, just different colour things. Oh, cool. Do you know what it's called, Textom? I'd like to look into that. A rifle I think looks really cool, but it wasn't all that reliable, was the Setme rifles Spain used in like the 80s or the 90s. Not the old Setmes, which are essentially the G3, but there's a thing called the Setme Model L, which was the 5.56 Setme. It looks quite sci-fi. Let me post a picture of it. Setme Model L. Yeah, the Setme Model L is really cool looking. I was going to buy a DIAC one at one point, but then they went up to stupidly high prices for a DIAC. Yeah, let me link to a picture on Wikipedia of the Setme Model L. Because the Setme L, I said, was like a really cool kind of, domestically made design. Yeah, I think hype, from what, I can't remember if it was Duke who said it to me or somebody else, was apparently the S10 was originally trialed in the US thing and they didn't go for it, because of jingoism. But yeah, the really good one is the Canadian one, the Canadian C4, because that's basically a weird love child of the S10 and an M40. It's got the better voice diaphragms of the M40 combined with like the S10 eyepieces and kind of general design. Zeocotal, I have no idea how that's pronounced, but that's cool. But yeah, let's look that up then. TechStorm. That's cool. It does remind me a little bit of the 70 as well. It's like a G36 looking thing, isn't it? Kind of thing. Yeah, if it works well, that's good, especially if, it keeps jobs in Mexico for them making it, because I think the problem with a lot of countries is when they outsource stuff and then people in the country don't have jobs, and you also get too reliant on foreign trade and everything. Wow, a while ago, AK-47, like, if we go back, say, 5-10 years, S10s in the UK, you could get them for £30 to £40 second-hand, like, anywhere. That was the regular price for them. You can sometimes get them cheaper. My 2009 S10 I got from a car boot sale for £15. Weird to think that now, isn't it, with the DPM bag? Then for quite a while, they were like £60 to £100 sort of average, depending on how quickly you wanted one. Like, you could probably still get one cheaper if you, looked on enough auctions, but if people just wanted to go and buy one, it was sort of 60 to 100. Now lots of S10s like 300 plus, aren't they, because of people price gouging on Corona. What I'm going to do is one of my S10s, once all this is over and shipping goes back to normal, there's a guy from Hong Kong, not Hype, somebody else, that's been on the Discord a while, I trust, and he wants to buy one of my S10s, so I'm just going to do a private sale to him with the bag and everything for about £50. So I think that's a fair price considering what they cost nowadays. The thing is, I don't want a price gouge on it, but at the moment it's not even safe to send masks because a lot of them are getting stolen in the post. And again, I do want to start cutting down on some of the masks I have just to make up more space. Oh, what's that, Richard? I must have missed your previous comment, but that's interesting. But yeah, asbestos was used as a particle filter for quite a long time, as Richard said, just basically to prevent dust and other crap getting in. That's the kind of weird irony of the old filters, is the asbestos was in there as particle protection. Now people want particle protection from asbestos, They definitely should have been, Marty, because most Soviet masks are made in quite a few sizes. It's just, it might be that they've all sold out because that was the size people wanted the most. I don't know. The only issue of using surgical masks is they're not really designed to filter air, but it's better than nothing, I'd guess. I'd just personally put a load of cotton wool in it if it was me. That's interesting, SCP site. The only problem with a lot of homemade masks is they won't make a very good face seal. But in today's world of people desperately wanting masks, it's certainly better than nothing. Nova says, what is that yellow thing? Belong, you mean below? You're probably looking at the SCP, not SCP. Why am I wanting to call it SCP? Because it's your username. That's a US CDV 720. I've got a 715 handy, so I'll show you a 715. But CDV 720 was the one the 715s replaced. Basically, have I got batteries in this one? Yeah, I have, look. So what these are, CDVs, is old US radiological gear. And how these work is these are ionization chamber-based units. The difference was the CDV 720 only did the 100, 10, and 1 range, not the 0, 1 range. But these ones are actually better because they've got the extra range, although they've not got as complicated an ion chamber on these. So how these work is they're ionization chamber-based. So what they do is same as the British MD3 meter ion chambers, although this is a gas-sealed ion chamber. So how it works is ionizing radiation enters the chamber. When the ionizing radiation enters the chamber, it basically registers on the ammeter at the top. But yeah, that's so you keep silica gel in them to keep all the components really dry. But yeah, these were the most common out of all the CDV range, except for that little dosimeter charger and the CDV dosimeter pens, because they built about 500,000 of these, and I think the actual CDV 700, the Geiger counter, they only built between like 100 and 200,000. So weirdly, yeah, this is actually a more common detector than the CDV 700s, but people often confuse them. But these aren't Geiger counters, these are ionization chambers. I should be able to re-zero it now, it's been on for a little bit. So yeah, let's put that down to 0, redo a circuit check. There we go. Turn it back on, and the needle in a moment should settle, because obviously I am not being exposed currently to like 300 millirontgen per hour. But when that settles, sadly, Fighting Welsh, I've only got the one S6, so I want to keep that. But yeah, if ever I found a spare one at a decent price, I'd let you know. But yeah, it's mostly just duplicate masks I really want to sell, or masks that, you know, I've got no interest in from a kind of collector's value. But yeah, there we go. It's settling down now. But yeah, essentially, these are old ion chamber units. Yep, you certainly can, Massimo, because where have I got some behind me? Somewhere behind me, I've literally got a bag full of silica gel that I bought off Amazon for that exact same purpose. But yeah, the British MD 3 meters are essentially similar things to the CDVs. Airbus LBM looks cool, but I don't have it. All right, see you, Novax. But so yeah, turn it on. It will do the battery test. Let's turn it on. It needs to just warm up. Right, the needle for this one might be all over the place, just simply for the reason that obviously where I've got the bottom open on this one, moisture can get in and mess up the reading. But yeah, this is like the British equivalent of the yeah, this one's powering up and powering down, which is quite funny. Listen to that. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm just thinking, I was just wondering if any crap had got into the ion chamber. Strange. Oh well. So I've got loads of these. So I'm not too fussed if this one needs repairing at some point. Well, AK-47, as you can see, a mess behind me. Some of the stuff is like properly sorted on shelves and in cupboards. Just the main issue is obviously you run out of shelving space pretty soon. Really happy just cause it might sound like a boring design, but it'd be almost like a full face panoramic design. Just with a voice diaphragm and bits for like radios to clip on and a filter port. Because I think in theory, if you could make almost like a full frontal, just completely panoramic face shield, that's what you'd end up wanting. Oh, Altrix is on. Hello, Altrix. And hello, George. Hope you're doing all right. Sorry if I missed you if you made a previous comment, but hope your recovery's all gone well, because I think you were saying, somebody was asking after you, George, in a friendly way the other day. And they were worried, and I said, oh, don't worry, he's apparently recovered now. Well, I think masks are normally just stolen more text on in the post, as in if you're a very low-paid postal employee somewhere and you realise that a mask is going through the post, especially if the sender hasn't insured it properly, you might nick it to resell it. Gamer858 said, I made it work. We'll post in a Tumnuts Discord after the stream with the full build, but I fitted a modern Geiger connection to the RM5 one rate meter. Awesome. What sort of thing did you put on it? But yeah. Rate meters are great to buy at the moment when they're like 20 quid or less. Also, what was interesting is Hype found a Chinese rip-off of the rate meter as well, because apparently communist China decided to rip them off as well, which was funny. It looked a bit more space-age than our one, like, you know, they copied it and then done some extra bits to it. But Hellraiser? Do you mean Hellraiser? Pinhead, yeah. A modern BMC connection. Weirdly, I actually have got a rate meter that has both a BMC cable on it and the original PET connector. I mean, you could. Is it mostly a power type thing? I'd assume. I'll just say AKA Africa, because I'm not sure how to pronounce the first bit. Does it just use weird obsolete batteries? Because you've got a couple of options if you've got old obsolete battery things. You can find if there's modern batteries that are a similar enough voltage and put a couple together if they fit in. Some people have said about like the USB power supplies that can fit in things like that, but I've never used those. Or if you're just using it on a bench, you can use a bench transformer. George says, I'm feeling great, got my test results back 3 days ago, no virus at all. I'm cleared, returned back to the fire department and the army. My wife will be coming back soon from quarantine. Life is good. Good to hear that. Fuller says, I just bought 3 Polish MP5 filters included for €30. As in FP5 filters. I mean, if you've got them like €10 a filter and they're well sealed, that is a good price because they work finding X particles. And seeing as lots of filters are price gouged to hell at the moment, getting an old CBRN filter, for $10 at the moment isn't a bad price at all. Or €10, sorry. Yeah, when I had the hazmat level A suit, which I did a video on, that was a pain in the ass because you had to have other people help you into it and all that, which is why I didn't want to keep it. Because B-Store said to me, oh, if you want to keep it, you can do. And I said, no, mate, you can have it back and sell it. I said, as cool as it is, it takes up a lot of room and it's a pain in the ass to get in and out of. Heavily Grey says, I bought a French gas mask and it came in a really mouldy smelling bag. I sprayed the bag, but the mask still reeks. Any suggestion to get rid of the smell on the rubber mask? Take the filters off of it and soak the mask in a sink with warm but not hot water with either fairy liquid or something like TCP antiseptic, like disinfectant stuff. Because if you leave them in those long enough, they generally impart their smell onto the mask. So it will then instead smell like a weird surgical smell, not a mouldy smell. It depends how strong the EMP is really, Ninos, because if the device isn't turned on at the time and it's in something that acts as a Faraday cage, I don't see why it wouldn't work. The old British advice for radios during a nuclear attack, right? You will love how primitive this is. Let's use the mobile phone and pretend that's the radio. So you get your radio, you take the batteries out. Once the batteries are taken out, you wrap it in tin foil. Once the nuclear attack has happened, you take the tin foil off, then you put your batteries back in and hope it works. I've not seen you around for long enough, I'm afraid, Keegan George, and considering that we've recently found out that there was a couple of sad individuals who were all the ones reporting me to the police and that and starting arguments with people online, I want to be quite careful who's a mod, but, I did find that interesting that, it was just a couple of sad individuals, that stirred up lots of shit between me and different gas mask collectors, and it was literally 2 or 3 people. Happy Just Cause says, it sucks being on the side of humanity that has a high chance of dying up to this, and I'm under 20, but I'm glad I live in a country that isn't America. P.S. It is asthma. Yeah, I've got asthma. Luckily, mine isn't bad, but I feel for you, obviously, because asthma is a big comorbidity or like complication, isn't it? But I'm being diplomatic, Altrix, but yes. Normally every day, Keegan, just because it's a good way of wasting an hour of my day, It's entertaining for other people, keeps them sane, lets you chat with people, I think personally, other than when you get loads and loads of idiots try and raid streams over and over and over, they're actually quite good for your mental health, because at the moment, while you're sort of stuck inside loads during quarantine, they help you talk to people. That's cool, George. So, George, the King of Corona. Sorry, was that Monkey Boy? So, do you know a way to defog gas mask sensors? The easiest thing that people recommend is getting a bit of dish soap and wiping the dish soap on the inside. I've never really tried it myself, but enough people have recommended it to me that I'm sure it would work. I mean, what you could do, of course, if you really wanted to spend the money, is buy that professional, like, ski goggle interior spray stuff that, is designed for people doing sports outside that's quite humid. Oh, Altrix, you're making me hungry now. Don't say that. Current time in the UK is 17 minutes past 17, as in 5:17 p.m. Oh, it's 5 p.m. already. I suppose today I said I was a bit hungover, so by the time I got up, I probably wasted a good bit of the day. Whereas yesterday I got up at like 6:40 a.m. and then didn't go to bed till like midnight. So yeah. The thing is, Xerxes, I'm just going to call you Xerxes, I don't know if that's your name. He says, the thing is, I kind of like being independent. Like, I wouldn't mind in private sales, like I said, if I've had something, and it's still in good condition, reselling it onto other collectors. But I think it's a lot of bother, it really, and I kind of like being impartial. I'd rather just, have the stuff for a while, review it, see what I think of it. I kind of agree with you. New, yeah, exactly. Unless it's people we've known for ages, but yeah, I'd agree with you there, Altrix, because we all know that there is some real losers out there. Cheers, Axton. He said, "What kind of snakes are in the UK?" We get. I'm not really all that sure. I know we get adders and like a few types of grass snakes, but we don't get loads. Let's Google it and find out. UK species of snakes. Um, is there just a page somewhere that lists all of them? 4 in the United Kingdom. So here's a page. I will link you to it. But like I said, I'm an idiot on this. I don't know. There you go. So let's have a look at this. Adders. I knew about adders, as I said. So there's adders, grass snakes, smooth snakes, and barred grass snakes. So yeah, we only domestically have 4 species of snakes. That's the joy of a mechanical keyboard. I used to be able to type even faster on my Model M before it broke. But this one I can type fairly decently on. And this is like a £30, £30 to £40 mechanical keyboard. Very cheap one that's pretty good. That's cool, Axton. I suppose it depends if you're scared of that stuff or not. But I like all animals like that, If you don't bother them, normally they don't bother you, Alex says, it looks like our worst snakes are those who think you can trust, who waste police time. I think you have a point there. It's a bit offensive to snakes, isn't it, though? J-Mom says, smooth snake, lubricated noodle. Oh, they're the most venomous snake. I know you've got quite a few, like Australia, a few types of venomous snake, but I suppose some are probably more venomous than others, are they, in terms of, like, how, like, smaller bite can give you a dangerous amount of venom or whatever. I've known people who've had pet snakes, and that was like saying snakes don't bother me, snakes, lizards, anything like that, really. I doubt I'll be on for 30 more minutes, bravo, lads, but I don't mind staying on another 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, when I was in Greece SCP site, I saw some lizards and things. Fair enough. If it's something that like isn't endangered and it's safer if you hunt it or whatever, then fair enough. But like I said, I don't really know the laws there, but I don't have to worry about snakes over here. That's all I'm saying. That's cool, heavily. I've never had pet lizards. I've had a scorpion before. I actually had 2 scorpions, but sadly one like died within a week of me getting it, just because I guess it wasn't in very good condition. But I did have one scorpion that lived for a couple of years, and I mean, they're not the most interesting of animals. I mean, physiologically, scorpions are really interesting because of how old they are as a species. They're like 400 odd million years old. They're like older than the dinosaur scorpions. But in terms of what a scorpion does, it sits in the shade all day, comes out now and again to eat something or drink water from its bowl, and it goes back into its nest. The scorpions, yeah, scorpions are interesting animals as well. No, Keegan, because I don't know who you are. See you, Ninos. Have a good day. I mean, the problem is product artillery. Most of the stuff I've got, it's mass-produced stuff, so it could have been issued to somebody interesting, or it probably was just sat in a warehouse for years and years and years. But for the most part, the most interesting thing I have is the War Emergency Guidebook in terms of like history behind it, because that was the book they used to issue to people that might have been given authoritarian powers in the UK. Also, regarding the Chernobyl fire, supposedly they're all out. Radiation levels where I've been have been normal for a while, but some other people in the chat reported like a week ago, like 5 days ago or something, when it rained, that they apparently said that they had some like elevated levels in the rain then. Oh, please don't ask them. That's cool, Joe Mama. What sort of dogs do they have then at the police department for, like, what sort of gas masks do they have for dogs? Because I didn't think many people still manufactured dog masks. It would still be good for particle stuff. But it depends what type of filter it is. Because if it was an old GP5 filter, I would not recommend it. If it was like an old British or American style filter, I think that'd be all right. But no, George, the one I got recently doesn't go to 3.6 Rontgen. It's the one prior to that one. I think it probably maxes out like 2 Rontgen or something. The issue is it's really not sensitive, and a few people in the chat said, and in the comments and on Discord, they said it's probably because it uses a type of scintillation crystal that's very vulnerable to moisture. So over the years, they become less and less sensitive as moisture gets in. At some point, I'll try and very carefully dismantle it, look at the crystal, see if I can either clean up the crystal or find a replacement crystal for it, because it would be quite a cool thing to actually have running efficiently, that scintillator. But I have actually got a set of scintillation crystals on order from Russia. They're like ones for gamma radiation of various strengths. I mean, that would be cool, AK-47, if we could actually culture that kind of bacteria, because it'd be really good for cleaning up disaster sites, wouldn't it? I wanted to go to Chernobyl, John Doe, but then Corona happened, didn't it? Sadly, in real life, it wouldn't give you superpowers, it would give you cancer. That's how radiation works in real life. I've got a cloud chamber Happy Just Cause, but I don't have the dry ice for it. But yeah, I bought one from where a physics wholesaler was selling off stuff from a physics lab. So there you go. There's a little cloud chamber. So yeah, if I get dry ice for it, I just put in my 99% rubbing alcohol, and then that evaporates the dry ice. You put like a bit of americinium in or radium or whatever, and you can watch all the cool stuff fly off. Yes, I believe it was sodium iodide floof. I can't remember the exact name, but that does sound about right. That's cool, SCP site, Suka. But, yeah, I find all that stuff in. Oh, this has a really nice old vintage smell to it. Oh, I love retro smells like that. It's one of those smells that would annoy a lot of people, but it kind of reminds you of like old museum smell, if that makes sense. Is it a very specific type of salt, though? Okay, George. If you do find them, let me know. But the main thing it's going to come down to is connector on them, because most Geiger counters just use a piezoelectric pickup. So pretty much any headphones or speaker, if you wired them to fit the Geiger counter, would work. It's just basically different nations had a different plug socket for their Geigers. That's really all it is. If Rolandus, if I ever see one for a good price, I would, but the problem is obviously getting one for a reasonable price. I mean, I do have that really, really cheap spectrometer, which does in theory work, but it's just really annoying trying to get it to work properly with the computer. But this in theory is a tiny spectrometer, because I can get a mobile phone app where you can end up seeing lines on it, but it's nowhere near as sensitive, as the proper ones. I don't know who you're referring to there, Joe, but I'm very confused now. If there was a big nuclear war, Keegan, you wouldn't survive it, so a gas mask wouldn't help you. Any mask, though, for filtering particles is fine. All right, cool. Was that on Discord, George? Let me open Discord up and have a look. Ah, that's the type. That's the Soviet ones that plug into DP5s and everything like that, George. I've got a pair somewhere, but I can't find them because I think they would plug into my Soviet scintillator as well. But a bit early, Alex, isn't it? But yeah, how it works is it's two prongs, so obviously a positive and a negative, and yeah, that's basically all it is. They're actually quite comfortable because the Soviets designed it so you could fit them over helmets and fit them out because it's like kind of a big elasticy band of two speakers on it. It also lets you fit them under winter hats and everything like that because the Soviets had clearly thought about all this stuff. But yeah, it's a two-prong design, so it fits in a DP5. And the idea is that, yeah, one's a positive, one's a negative, anode, cathode. But yeah, if you wanted to just simply plug a speaker in, though, George, to a DP5 or something, you can literally just buy a cheap piezoelectric speaker online, put the positive and negative wire in the correct way, and you could do it with that. You don't need to get the old Soviet headphones. Right, the bit I need, Novax, is a little bit at the end, so let me just try and sort that out. Oh, if the chat stops moving. Yeah, I'll head off in about 5 minutes. So if anybody's got any quick questions, try and throw them in now, and then I'll I used to AK, but the thing is, less people watch them than the proper streams, so I don't really bother, because if I end up doing too many of those, then YouTube stops recommending my videos. I don't know if Ukraine has Bravo. It was only Russia, as far as I'm aware, that had done it. I mean, not only Russia, a lot of places have. No, the butt plate is still on the back of the Rubin. At some point, I might take the plate off and that's all right, Hype. Yeah, I saw that you'd sent a message on Discord, but I haven't replied to it. But yeah, those German dosimeters are pretty bright. I mean, that's one of the good things with them. But as I said, the problem is, well done, Germany, making a dosimeter that none of your allies can use, and you can't also charge using your allies' standard dosimeter chargers. Because, yeah, here's the funny thing, right? The British dosimeter pens charge absolutely fine on the British chargers. The American ones charge fine on this. Even Soviet DKP 50s charge absolutely fine on these. You can literally charge up anything on the British and American dosimeter chargers except the German ones. It's not even like the German ones you can charge, other dosimeters on them. It's just the German ones are a stupid shape that do not work with any dosimeter charger but the German one. Where's the quartz fiber needle? There it is. Let's take this off left of 0 Rontgen. And yeah, that's charged fine. Yeah, Germans. But yeah, it's like the Spallensperger Act or whatever it's called. It's like, well done, Germany. You made a really nice ionization chamber that had lots of features, but the fundamentals of it don't work very well because you over-engineered it. They can't just make something that works simply. And it's a shame because Germans are really good engineers, but problem is over-engineering is not good engineering, because if you make something that's got loads of great features, but then it breaks or the basic features don't work properly, I would argue that is not good engineering. Well, it's the new Stalker 2. I've not seen if they've done new updates for it, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. Hope when it comes out it's a good game, but I won't hold my breath. Ah, cool. I'll take that off then later on and have a look. I can't do it on stream, sadly, because of YouTube rules, but I don't know hype, actually. I'm not all that into planes, but, you know, they could very well have been. What's the money for it, Raindrop? Because it's going to completely come down to how much it costs. Is it worth 50, 60 quid, probably? Like 50, 60 pounds or dollars? Is it worth £100? That's a stretch. If it's a World War II mask, I would say probably Altrix, yes. I don't have one personally, so I don't know. 249 euros? No, it is not worth that. I'd say 50 to 100 euros. I've never shot either the Kar 98 or the Mosin Nagant. I mean, I like the Mosin because it's a cheap, mass-produced rifle that's pretty famous. I mean, K98s are probably more accurate and better engineered, you know. That sounds a good design, doesn't it, Hype? Somebody thought was good somewhere and didn't think of all the basic things that could go wrong with it. Yeah. Or I imagine something else goes wrong that damages the flight computer not even getting shot. The only US surplus website I know of, Manky Boy, other than by using eBay, is what's it, Sportsman Guide? They sometimes have stuff in for a good price, but the thing is, though, if it works mindset is quite good with a lot of stuff. It's like the one I like is if it looks stupid but it works, it's not stupid. You know, like a lot of old equipment like that is if you design something that looks kind of unfit for purpose but ends up working really well, and that's fine, isn't it? ECBA. We're going to talk about the ECBA. You can normally get them on eBay. Yeah, you need ECBA Kevlar filler and the ECBA plates, I assume. Yeah, it's an hour and 17 minutes. I'll be off in literally like a minute or two. I was just seeing if there was any other interesting things before I finish the stream off. Did that person get their Discord ID correctly that I added? Did it actually paste? Oh yeah, there we go. They did get their ID right, so I can invite them to the server. Once that's done, anything on there is channel updates. Yeah, what an amazing system. You have to eject as soon as there's a fault with it, you know, writing off the plane. I always say popcorn. I don't think I've ever called it popped corn. I mean, it's pretty much the same name, isn't it? Pop or popped, but yeah, I've always called it popcorn. Because he was on about the ECBA, you know. Yeah, but the MiG-21 was a really, really fast plane when it came out, so it was going to need a lot of instruments. Interesting, Alex. Like I was saying, the main thing that my dad found funny was when the police came to look at it and then didn't want to even bother looking at it. Yeah, Woodland DPM. The only problem with the Woodland DPM ECBA covers is the older Gen ones, not the newer Gen ones. But bear in mind, when the ECBA was first made and the CBA, Woodland DPM was a camo that Britain used at the time. It was that they basically had the worst design in terms of actual how like the liners and that were built. The later like MTP ones are way better quality liners, but apparently I've not got one because you'd have to look at one in person or see like photos of an individual one. The later woodland ones that were made at the same period as the MTP ones, I guess for training use in Britain or whatever, they did have the same like button layout and like zip layout and everything. Really, Joe? I mean, I hope that's a morbid thing. Is there a bullet hole in it? Or like blood splatters on it? But yeah, I'd feel really awkward if I bought a surplus bit of body armor, and then it had KIA written on it. Yeah, again, it depends what budget it's being made on, doesn't it, Norks? If you again making a mass-produced gas mask for civilians, if it works attitude is basically all you need, because they don't need something with fancy features. Yeah, if you didn't know Geraro, it's just because there was a very sad person who used to come on these streams that basically wasted the police time reporting them to me, reporting me to the cops because he didn't like me and didn't like a lot of other people by the sound of it. And now they're definitely not coming back. It's one of those people that kept begging to be allowed back on over and over and over. But I'm sorry if you waste CBRM police time by calling them on me when you know I've got nothing illegal. You're officially a cunt. That's no, YouTube doesn't let anybody post links. Well, yeah, but it's not me to sort that out, is it, Manky Boy? If the police decide somebody wasting their time needs investigating, they do it at their end. It's not me to say to the police, look, can you look into that, is it? That's interesting, AK-47. That's interesting as well, Massimo. No, my dad, Alex, doesn't really wear camo or anything like that. He has very basic walking shorts, normally like a polo shirt or a t-shirt. I think my dad's got a couple of suits somewhere for when he has to wear them for a proper thing, and that's basically all he wears. He's not, my dad is one of those people who give absolutely no shits about fashion or anything else. But anyway, I'll be off now. It's been a good stream. Yeah, and refuses to carry a phone, exactly. Anyway, I'll be off now. So thanks, everybody. It's been quite a good stream. So, yeah. What, was wearing a plague doctor mask illegal, Marty? I don't understand. Yeah, see you all. Have a good sort of evening, afternoon, whatever. It's Tuesday today, isn't it? I'm really losing track of the days now. But I'm going to go do some dinner now, I think. And, yeah. Stay safe, everybody. See ya. And see you all. Right, goodbye.